IP claims or IPs necessary to spur innovation have been contested at one point or another. So I think this is important because to know that the first patent was in this year, which is so, which many, which a long time ago, and also to imagine that knowledge as appropriable was something that is not a public good was being contested. And another thing is the World Trade Organization, trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights agreement, or WTO TRIPS agreement. This agreement says that the areas of intellectual property that covers are copyright and related rights, the rights of performers, producers of sound recordings, and broadcasting organizations, trademarks, including service marks, etc. Well, there are so many areas, and I could not put all them in here because it's many, it's too much. But TRIPS, the book says that was clearly a particular instance of the U.S. and the European Union industrial policies extending outside their borders so as to project the competitive advantage of their most technologically advanced sectors. So it's easy for these countries who because of the agreement was having an advantage to protect this agreement. And talking about intellectual property for pharmaceuticals and plant-based resources in historic perspective, what I think is important is the part that says the frontier states' pursuit of technological ranks on behalf of their most promising sectors came fully equipped with the WTO arbitration and have sanction mechanism which could and have been used as both Brazil and India some found out to discipline those playing unfairly in the global marketplace. This is important because it's a mechanism to protect the knowledge of your country, to protect the technology, the innovation, and Brazil and India has many things to protect, so it was very important for them. And IP and service were most emphatically resisted by most developing countries, being unsuitable for inclusion in trade negotiations. So most developing countries was not agreeing to that because they thought there was in disadvantage. So Brazil, there was no place for IP negotiations at the GATT, save those on easing their restricting effects on access to technology. One thing that I think is important is that the U.S. Was using this agreement as an arbitration and sanction mechanism. Moving on to IP protection for pharmaceuticals, many developed countries had themselves taken advantage of international IP flexibilities to limit pharmaceutical patents to process only. So IP was very problematic to many countries, but to developed countries was understood as an advantage. So it's clearly how the developed countries was trying to protect it, was trying to defend it. And the IP protection for plant genetic resources as a new form of IP protection, plant breeders' rights. Well, this is a very important part of the book, but it's also it is used as an example. So as this private sector grew, so did its demand for protection of its more important assets. So scientific knowledge of the selection and testing process of high-performing hybrids and the successful final hybrids themselves. So this is a new form of IP protection, that it's plant breeders' rights. And because of that, there was a convention for the protection of new varieties of plants, that is UPOV. That was signed in 1961. And before that convention, there were no IP titles over the appropriated and worked germsplasms. And this only happened because of the Green Revolutions. The Green Revol sorry. And this only happened because of the Green Revolution. So the aim of the states was the transformations of the backward peasant agriculture into a more capital-intensive mode of production, and many developing countries came under pressure to both guarantee access to plant genetic resources in their territories under the principle of common heritage of making. So as a public good, that's something that should be for everyone, because it's a common heritage of mankind. But it's not. The IP titles it's a mechanism to say that you want the thing that another country cannot interfere in it. So because of that, it's a mechanism for the growth of the economy. And at the final of the text, it's international context of patent and plant genetic resource prior to TRIPS and the CVD. Well, I selected two cases. The most important for me, that it's one of Mexico and another of Brazil. So this case of the Mexico says that nearly a year before Mexico announced that it was no longer able to service its debt in 1982, widely accepted as the beginning of the debt crisis. Speaking on behalf of the group of developing countries, Mexico demanded that the FAO prepare a draft international agreement for controlling the flow of plant genetic resource. This threats to stop germplasms transferred to the south. So that's what became known as the seed wars had just begun. And this is important because it says that the principle of common heritage had become confirmed and it applied, as developing countries had insisted not only the primitive germplasms but also to elite commercial cultivars line. And the case of Brazil it says that representing a number of developing countries concerned about their restrictive effects of patents on access to technology, Brazil officially inaugurated the patent reform movement by submitting a proposal on patent protection and transfer of technological to underdeveloping countries at the UN. So this was new. And I put India there too, because the patent reform movement, alongside similar efforts, is spearheaded by India to reform the international corporate system with a view to responding to developing countries' concerns about the spread of technology literacy, and mass education, was eventually subsumed under the broader movement of the G77 for a fairer new international economic order. So, guys, what I think it's important is to realize that the change of creating IP titles to make the knowledge appropriable, and the IP titles including including bioeconomy, including pharmaceuticals, so medicines, and there is something that you can appropriate it and you can use to make your country growth. And this is very important because we can associate it with another classes that we have. For example, the new economic theories we can associate with new economic growth and with new economic geography. And also the theory of endogenous growth, because we are talking about innovation, we are talking about technology. This goes against the neoclassical theory that says that these things, the geography, the science, technology, innovation, this is all exogenous. But the text says that no, that it's endogenous. for the economy. And that's it. I hope you had understand something. And if you have doubts, just ask me in the class. And now we're going to move on with the presentation with Elvis. Thank you.